Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. The Monroe County Board of Commissioners held a public hearing on November 7th regarding an interest in Bean Blossom Township joining the Monroe County Fire Protection District. County Attorney Jeff Cockrell provided an overview of the proposal.
Yes, and I think it's important that we have the background to what's going on. The township trustee for Bean Blossom Township approached the county commissioners to indicate that there was an interest in exploring the possibility of the Bean Blossom Township joining the Monroe Fire Protection District. This is not the first time that a township has wanted to join the Monroe Fire Protection District, so we had developed a process, and particularly important through COVID when things were a little bit different, as to what is necessary to get the commissioners to look at whether to take that action or not. And part of that process is it's based in statute, a written determination by a certain number of people within the township that they do indeed want to join the Fire Protection District. There's also a segment of the state code which we are not following, which would require every township that currently is served by that fire protection district to also go through that kind of vetting process and get signatures from them. That protection district has expanded so many times in the past 4 or 5 years that some of the original township we're seeing exhaustion from getting these cards and filling them out and going back.
Bean Blossom Township resident Kirk Davis said that he felt the process was hurried and that it could impact residents' taxes. Cockrell responded to Davis's concerns about how the county could notify residents in a more impactful way.
Craig Davis, Bean Blossom Township. Once again, I'm not up here objecting. My whole issue with this process is it felt like it was hurried and it was going to be pushed through without the voice of all of the citizens and their concerns being addressed, mainly as to how much it's going to cost each individual citizen in Bean Blossom Township. Based on we had the meeting here, the woman come and did the big financial piece. Well, that was nice and all, but it still didn't just tell them how much money per year this was going to cost on their taxes. While I can probably absorb a little more, and I love fire protection, I love firefighters. Where are you at? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. I'm not against public safety at all. I'm in public safety myself. But I think we need to take more time and be sure all the options are explored and the citizens have the information. My question is, I found out about this meeting like others did about 3 hours ago. Where's the information posted for these meetings? Where does everybody get the information? That's a question a lot of people want to know.
Well, I think the answer is that as we notice this meeting the same way we noticed every other county meeting we have. I think I learned today that it certainly was not received by the audience that we wanted to. I spoke with Kevin Patton, with the Ellettsville Fire Department, and I think he helped get in touch with people to help get the word out. And honestly, I apologize that it wasn't better, but I apologize, but it's also just the changing of the times where 10 years ago we go through this and everybody knows about it, right, and it's not a problem. And so our rules on how we notice these things haven't changed. And so, that's something we traditionally never struggled with, which now we're kind of, in the past 3 or 4 years, we're kind of struggling more with making sure people know when these meetings are.
Okay, right. So how are we going to do that? We have a process going forward. My almost 86-year-old mother-in-law, she doesn't, social media or the newspaper or how does she get this information other than, and I didn't get it. So where do you publish it at, I guess, is my question.
We send it to every media outlet that requests it, which is pretty much all of them in the county. If you have suggestions on how to do this better, because this is a struggle we have. Okay. If you have suggestions, more than happy to hear them to figure out better ways to address that.
Well, in the end, my time's probably up. I think this needs to be slowed down and look at, like you said, 2026, and get everybody a chance to get their opinions and how much it's going to cost them.
After about 20 minutes of public comment from property owners, Cockerell informed residents that Bean Blossom Township won't join the Fire Protection District until 2027. The Bloomington City Council met on November 6. Local nonprofit Canopy Bloomington updated the council on the work that they've been doing in partnership with the city. Canopy's board president, Philippa Guthrie, presented on the work that they've done, such as planting trees in the community and educating the public on tree maintenance.
So Canopy programming, we have 3 basic pillars: education, tree planting, and community engagement. The education things that we engage in, Trees 101 is a course that we offer. We've had one of them so far, and it was developed by one of our board members, and it was very successful. A number of people signed up, so we will be having other ones. It's all about trees, how to plant them, why they are beneficial, and about Bloomington's Canopy. Tree walks, that is offered on our website, and those involve either a staff member or volunteers taking people around and showing them about trees. We've had several of those in parks, for example, or an area where there are lots of varieties of trees, so that people are learning about the different kinds of trees. Tree workshops would be when people ask us to teach them how to care for their trees. The Youth Tree Tenders program is one of the things that we partner with the city on. We have done it for, I think, 3 years, and it involves hiring high school students to work in, it has been city parks so far, and they work part-time in the summer, and they do mulching and pruning, and what are the other things they do? Well, Ava knows more, but they take care of the trees that are already planted and are sort of mid-age, and it's been really successful. They love it, and they've done a really good job, I think, and Bloomington, the city of Bloomington, funds that by a contract. Informational media, we did yard signs last year, actually, in the parks about how to mulch your trees, and it's a donut and not a mound of mulch. And we also do social media posts about trees, and we have handouts that we provide. Tree planting, that is probably our main pillar, really, I would say. I mean, we were established to plant trees. We have priority tree planting zones based on equity and community strategy and where trees are needed. We lead planting events in the spring and the fall, which are the seasons when you should plant trees. Community is the third pillar, although it kind of runs through all of it. We build relationships with community partners, and you see a list of them there. It's the city, MCCSC, the neighborhoods. Kona has been really helpful. Habitat for Humanity, and other organizations. So the city has lost canopy cover. From 1998 to 2018, it was 54%, which is it's really shocking. The tree canopy coverage as of 2018 is 38%, but our attainable canopy is 61%. 23% of our area is available to plant, and that's across both private and public land. 16% is designated as high or very high priority for plantings.
Councilmember Andy Ruff asked if they've done work replacing trees that were knocked down by the powerful storm that came through this past summer. Vice President Sarah Mincy responded, saying that they have not done a canopy analysis since the storm came through due to the fact that canopy analysis costs a significant amount of money.
We will do other canopy assessments in the future for the city, and as those come along, we'll be able to get new assessments of where we need to be working so we can prioritize spaces that have lost canopy cover from storm events like that. And we've had a lot of change over time, as Philippa described, and some of that has been because of storms. Some of it has been because of emerald ash borer, right, invasive species, and then some of it is because of development, as we described. So we just continually look at these satellite images and update our analysis to know where we need to be working. But really importantly, I just want to emphasize a big focus is on equity. So we're looking at communities that have been marginalized, typically lower income communities where there's also low canopy cover, because the benefits to them can be really great.
Council member Hopi Stosberg asked for clarification on the colors used on the map. Executive Director Ava Hartman explained how they create the map that they use to decide where to plant the trees.
So there are 3 colors on the map, and they're based on priority areas. So the red priorities are the highest, the orange are medium, and then the yellow are low. So Canopy tends to plant we prioritize the highest priorities, and then sometimes we'll plant in medium priority. And then since we don't have the biggest capacity right now, the lowest priority neighborhoods will provide them with educational resources, but we don't do plantings in them.
So those priorities are based on the canopy
Yes.
coverage?
So they're based on a few environmental and socioeconomic variables. Some of the environmental variables include vulnerability to flooding, heat, temperature, looking at just like a bunch of different environmental variables. And then we also look at socioeconomic variables, so things like median income, race and ethnicity, and we basically piled all of those on top of each other, and that's how we got the map you're seeing.
I guess I'm just surprised by some of the colors based on what you're telling me the assessment was, but.
Yes, so we inform our plantings by this map, but we recognize that the data might not represent everything that's happening in the community, especially when things like storms go through. And so we've experienced things where we work with Habitat for Humanity, but their neighborhood isn't in a high priority area. So a lot of times we base our decisions off this data, but we also listen to community input.
Later in the meeting, Special Projects Coordinator and ADA Coordinator Michael Shermis spoke to the council, asking them to approve updates to the City of Bloomington's Americans with Disabilities Act transition plan.
City governments of anything above 50 people, 50 employees are required to file an ADA transition plan stating how we are trying to become more compliant with the ADA. American with Disabilities Act. And we did one 2 years ago after a 7-year gap. And so this is, we agreed at that time that we would try to be consistent and do it every 2 years, and I'm right on target. It's been 2 years since we did the last one. This one is more pro forma. The last one was a big deal because we hadn't done it in 7 years. This year we reorganized a bit of the data to make it a little bit easier, but it's not that much different than the last one. The next one, 2 years from now, will be much more significant. And I only tell you that to say get ready. It's going to include the digital accessibility work groups, digital accessibility strategic plan that the city's undertaking right now. And because it's part of how we're becoming more compliant in the digital world, as well as physical accessibility, it will be a big part of the next transition plan in a couple of years.
The council approved the changes unanimously. Next, the council heard from Assistant City Attorney Chris Wheeler. He asked the council to approve a resolution to reject the establishment of a merit system for the Bloomington Police Department.
The reason why this resolution is being brought to council is because in 2023, state legislature passed legislation to require all municipalities who have qualifying responder departments, such as fire and police, to adopt a merit system unless they take action to reject that merit system. Chief Dekoff is here tonight with me. He's in person. I apologize for not being able to be there in person, but he is here also to speak on behalf of the police department. But the police department took a straw poll and determined that they would like, in fact, to reject the merit system. But they cannot reject the merit system until and unless the council first takes steps to pass a resolution that rejects the merit system. So there are dance steps in the statute that make it very clear council must first pass a resolution that will reject the merit system in order for it to get to the department so that the department can then conduct a vote. And the way that happens is for the Board of Public Safety to issue notice to all department members who qualify to vote. All active, full-time, paid members of the department get notified that there will be a meeting that is conducted for the sole and only purpose of voting on accepting or rejecting the merit system based upon the resolution that's been passed by council. So we are here tonight expressing the wishes of the department that this body pass the resolution before it to reject the merit system so that statutorily we can conduct the necessary meeting to have the necessary vote in order to have the department reject the merit system.
Police Chief Michael Diekoff spoke to the council and explained why they would prefer to keep the Board of Safety rather than adopt a new merit board system.
When this came about, we started talking about it internally at the department, and we did a straw vote of all of the officers, and the vote was 68-14 with 8 no responses to keep the Board of Safety. The Board of Safety has been something that we have operated under ever since I can remember. It is something where there are 5 members appointed by the mayor that basically oversees police and fire. I think a little bit of a misnomer is if the merit board goes into effect, the Board of Safety does not go away. They have certain statutory responsibilities that they will still have to act on that a merit board cannot do. So for simplicity's sake and for the sake of it's, everybody was basically looking at it as the system's not broke, so why do we need to fix it? The officers would prefer to have the Board of Safety still be in place and not act to move to a merit board system.
Wheeler explained that one reason the police department does not want to adopt the merit board is due to the fact that they are currently understaffed.
Right now, the police department is short-staffed, so they would like very much to try and keep as many of their officers available to do those things that are required in order to properly enforce the law and to do those things that the department needs to do to successfully enforce the law for the city of Bloomington. 2 members of the police department would need by necessity to be appointed to the board, the merit system board, which would then detract or pull away from doing the things that need to currently be done to enforce the law to get all of the things done that they need to do. And that's not a necessary thing to do right now because, as Chief Diekoff said, the Board of Public Safety already does those things very successfully for the department.
Council member Isak Asari asked if the decision to reject the merit system would be permanent. Wheeler explained that if in the future the police department wished to adopt the merit board, they would be able to do so. The council voted to approve the resolution unanimously. At the Monroe County Commissioners meeting on November 6th, the commissioners considered an easement agreement with Southern Monroe Water Authority.
What we're looking at is an easement for the water authority so that they can increase their infrastructure. One of their major concerns that they expressed to us in meetings is fire protection, particularly at the point, and making sure that they have adequate water pressure to get there. In order to do this, they were looking at the area by the old Smithville School that we own where the ball fields are. As someone who has a daughter who's played there, the bulk of this is in kind of the scrub brush area that's not really utilized by this. And I think the other part is along the property line, which may have a slight use as far as the driveway coming in and things like that, but they've agreed to work with Smithville Diamonds to make sure there's a minimum of disruption. I think once they get the pipe in the ground, people will not even know it's there. But this is for, in part because of fire protection and also water service to citizens of Monroe County. Speaking with Commissioner Giffens, who met with the group, she wanted us to have this easement done at no cost because it would just be a cost to
to the users of the authority.
A Southern Monroe Water Authority staff member shared that the water tank near Eagle Point can get lower than they feel comfortable with. He highlighted their concerns, one being fire safety.
Yeah, we've kind of had a big concern because we can't keep our tank at Lakeview Station up to where it needs to be. And there's times it gets down to 4 or 5 feet. And it should be, ideally, it should be at 25 feet. And in the wintertime, we're able to get that water back up because so many people aren't at the point, you know, flushing toilets, doing things like that, drinking. And this will kind of be a stopgap measure to make sure we get enough water pumped up there to keep the tank full, because got a place like the Point and you have a fire there and we've already got a low tank, that's bad. So this will really ease our minds a lot to get this done. So sure appreciate your patience in looking into this and approving it.
Commissioner Penny Githens spoke in support of the easement, as did Commissioner Lee Jones.
I think it benefits the health and welfare of citizens of our county, which is the reason I'm supporting this.
Commissioner Jones? Yeah, I've been hearing about water problems in this area going back, I think, about 20 years now. So I'm very pleased to hear that something's being done about it, and I'm sure it'll be much appreciated.
The commissioners approved the easement agreement unanimously. Cockrell explained that the agreement will need to be approved by the County Council next. He said that they will hear it at their next meeting on November 12th. Next, the commissioners approved 8 American Rescue Plan Act contracts. Commissioner Julie Thomas said that she was glad to get the ARPA funding into the community and remarked on the efforts rural transit has made to reach county residents living in Ellettsville.
I will tell you that I'm grateful for rural transit and their great work this year in offering the shadow service to the more densely populated parts of the county. They're doing a great job, and I'm excited that they can do it another year. It's unfortunate that Ellettsville has not stepped up to pay their portion of the bill for 2025. And I think that's a terrible thing, and I think residents of Ellettsville should talk to their town council members. I am grateful for the work that John Connell and the Bloomington Transit Board did. We got to a really good place in terms of an agreement. And thank you, Mr. Cockrell, for getting that last bit ironed out. There was a lot of email going back and forth about the contracts and the language and all of that. So I appreciate all the work that went into all of this, especially from our legal staff, Ms. Purdy. But it is good to get this money out in the community and to help people and change people's lives for the better. It's our last chance to do it for a while.
The commissioners approved the ARPA contracts unanimously. At the Bloomington Board of Public Works meeting on November 4th, local resident Joe Davis addressed the board expressing his frustration with an abatement on his property. Davis said that Fire Dog's junk removal took items from his property and that he was able to buy some of them back at JB's Salvage.
Hello, my name is Joe Davis, and I was able to purchase recently at JB's Salvage my mortar mixer that was taken away from me on the 22nd by the city of Bloomington and by the Fire Dogs. It cost me $185, and that was at 30 cents a pound, the JB Salvage. Now, there was a lot of other metal that was also too left there at JB Salvage by the Fire Dogs, but I didn't get there in time, and it all got baled up and shipped out. And I don't know how much money the Fire Dogs made off of taking my stuff, but at least I got to see it all like mashed up and bent up on the tin pile there. It was a way to sort of say goodbye to it. But luckily, I was able to buy my motor mixer back. So I have that parked in front of my house, behind my truck. And while I was there, there was a metal topper on the tin pipe. And so it fit my truck perfectly. So I purchased it as well. So it was a good day. It was a good day for reacquiring tools that were taken from me. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I think that's the extent of my comments for the moment. Thank you.
Later, Engineering Project Manager Jeremy Inman requested the board approve a change order for street maintenance. He said the Utilities Department is requesting an additional storm drain to assist with flooding prevention.
This is for the downtown project. For 4th and Madison, City Utilities has requested another storm sewer to be replaced in that intersection to help with the flow of water getting out of there. Was not in the initial scope of work, so we had added in there. The change orders amount of $12,069.27, bringing the new total to $2,046,731.14. This will also have a road closure at the intersection of 4th and Madison. They're wanting to start at Friday this week, Saturday, and then Monday. Be full closure of that intersection with some other construction work going on in that area, but a 3-day closure as of now.
The board approved the change order unanimously. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.